Hello everybody, this is Albert with Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to give about 5 reasons why you should never buy tea at a coffee shop. Now before we begin, check out our previous episodes, in particular episode 1 on what is tea, if you don't know what tea is, and also check out our playlist Tea 101. Now look, I don't mean to cast aspersions on any coffee shop owner or coffee shop business in general, but similar to how if you go to like a Chinese restaurant, they're always going to have like the kids menu, and the kids menu will have chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, and you're like, what would this place know about those things because it's a Chinese restaurant? It's almost the same. Certainly there's similarities between tea and coffee, no doubt, but there's a gigantic chasm between the two. And like, you wouldn't go to a Chinese restaurant to get chicken nuggets. You shouldn't be going to a coffee shop to get good quality tea. And the number one reason why you shouldn't go to a coffee shop and order tea is simply ignorance. It's not ignorance on your part, it's just ignorance on the coffee shop, because the coffee shop, their priority is not tea. What they're doing is, we're a coffee shop, we'll likely sell pastries, and they're like, as an afterthought, they'll sell tea. And so as a whole, unless they make a concerted effort to learn about teas, they don't know much about teas. And so they're like, let's just get some provider and have like a couple herbals, maybe a Earl Grey, maybe some sort of green, and that's it. And so that's the issue. Now, if you have friends that love coffee shops, or like the ambiance of a coffee shop, or they want to get coffee, but you're more of a tea drinker, I get it, you're gonna go to these places. But I'm gonna give you a couple of reasons why you shouldn't get tea at a coffee shop. Number one, as a whole, they're gonna use less quality tea. Now, again, this is not casting aspersions on them. Some of it, it's just they don't know any better, right? They're just going to be like, let's just get, I'm not going to name any names, but let's just get whatever's the most affordable tea out there. So when somebody comes in and wants tea, we can provide them tea. So many times, their black tea, if they're selling a black tea, is going to be CTC, which we know is lower quality black tea. It's not going to be loose leaf tea. And in general, they're going to have, most of the time, sachets. Their tea's going to come in tea packets, and we know just the inferior quality as a whole of tea that comes in sachets compared to loose leaf tea. So they're just going to have, as a whole, and again, there's going to be exceptions. There's going to be places, coffee shops, that actually care about tea, and they're going to have good quality tea that's loose leaf. But as a whole, it's just they're going to use just standard tea from a local provider, and normally these are going to be lesser quality teas. Another reason you don't want to get tea from these places is the fact that they come in tea bags. Even if it's a relatively good quality tea, when you're putting, let's make the assumption it's tea leaves in a tea bag, it doesn't give them space to expand. And we're going to talk about this in future episodes about like how should you be steeping your tea. And one of the principal components of steeping your tea is you want to give it space for the leaves to unfurl. You think of oolong, for example, and not like a lot of coffee shops sell oolong, but whatever it is, the leaves are going to need space to get that full bloom out, and therefore be able to diffuse all the beautiful things we love about tea. And when you sell in sachets, when you sell in these tea packs, it's just not able to do so. You can't do it. I would tell you the biggest reason why you shouldn't buy tea from a coffee shop is they blast the temperature of the tea. And we talked about it in a previous episode. What's the ideal temperature for steeping your tea? None of them are 212 unless you're getting an herbal. And again, this is normally not intentional by a coffee shop. This is just the baristas not knowing any better, that if you ask for a green, or if they even have a white or a black, they're just going to flip on the espresso machine to get the hot water, and that water is going to be scaldingly hot. And what happens when you use 212 degree Fahrenheit water on a green tea? You're going to make it bitter, astringent, and it really kind of just nukes out a lot of the health benefits of green tea, which we'll talk about in future episodes. So you're getting this like lesser quality tea in the first place, more often than not, and secondly, they're not preparing it the right way, and they're just ruining your tea. It's not their fault. They just don't know any better. Now, I have been, to be fair, I have been to coffee shops that the owners or the baristas actually study, like, how should we prepare tea? And they'll be like, I'll get you a matcha, because I'll get matcha with water. And they'll be like, okay, and they'll be like, yeah, we know. Like, I'll mention to them, you should use this time. They go, like, we know, we do it at 170, 160. I'm like, cool. So they actually know. Some coffee shops will actually have a separate water intake for teas that's at a cooler temperature than what they're using for coffee. So you will see that. So there are going to be exceptions. You will find coffee shops that will sell loose leaf. They might sell them in a glass jar, which is a separate question. You shouldn't be keeping your tea in glass containers, but whatever. They have them in loose leaf, and they'll put them in a sachet. Maybe even they'll have a diffuser, and they can steep it, so you'll get it the traditional way. And then you'll see that they'll prepare it the right way at the right temperature, and they'll have loose leaf tea. But that is the exception to the norm. And certainly you can post in the comments. The large majority of coffee shops don't do tea justice. Tea is like the fibula of the lower leg. It's the ugly stepsister. It's like nobody cares about tea. And why should they? They're a coffee shop. It's just like if I opened a tea shop and had coffee on the side or something, I just wouldn't devote as much attention to it, because it's not the modus operandi of the store. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from what's your experience of ordering tea at coffee shops. Have you been to coffee shops that actually know what they're doing in terms of the quality of the tea that they sell and the temperature? Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.